The marathon on the Hill continues, and we don't know exactly when the Senate will finally have a final answer on the budget bill critical to Donald Trump and his vision for his second term, or what it will be. I want to bring in Sahil Kapoor, who is on Capitol Hill for us. Sahil, what should we be watching for? What are you watching for right now?
Chris, we are a few hours into the so-called vote-a-rama process. The big thing I'm watching for is these amendments that are coming up. How are senators voting? Are there any interesting clues that we're picking up that can point to where this is all headed? For the most part, the amendments that are being voted on so far are offered by Democrats to basically they're called motions to commit, essentially to rip this bill off the Senate floor and send it back to committee to make changes to key provisions like Medicaid, like SNAP, some of the biggest things that Democrats are criticizing. Republicans are voting all of them down, but there is one amendment that was brought up by Senator Ed Markey shielding rural hospitals that two Republicans, Susan Collins and Lisa Murkowski, voted with Democrats on, which is very interesting because those two votes could be key to the outcome. Remember, Republicans have 53 senators. They can only lose 3 votes in order to get this passed. They've already lost 2. Senator Rand Paul, who complains that the debt impact of this bill is bad. Senator Thom Tillis, who said the Medicaid cuts would hammer his home state of North Carolina. Collins and Murkowski have critiqued the health care components of this bill. They don't like the fact that it would cost people in their states coverage, and they're moderates who have voted against their party in the past. Their votes are going to be very critical, I think, in terms of whether Republicans can get this bill over the line. And finally, how do several Senate conservatives vote? Ron Johnson, Rick Scott, Mike Lee reluctantly voted to begin debate on this bill. They say they want more provisions to reduce the deficit impact of the bill, including one provision to cut Medicaid payments to states that have expanded the program under the Affordable Care Act. Is that going to pass? Very unclear. How are they going to vote on the final passage of the bill if they don't get the changes they want? There's a lot still up in the air, Chris, and this bill is very fluid.
Sahil Kapoor, thank you for that. Joining me now, Democratic Senator from Virginia, Mark Warner. He is a member of the Budget Committee. Senator, it is good to see you. No secret how Democrats feel about this bill. But do you see anything right now? Are you hearing anything in conversations with Republicans that suggests to you that it could be stopped from getting to the president's desk?
Well, Chris, your correspondent just laid out, I think, a very good yin and yang here. You've got the conservatives who want to even cut Medicaid more. And then you've got some of the more moderate senators like Susan Collins, Lisa Murkowski, that want to cut it less. And one of the key amendments that I think I'll be looking at is Susan Collins is going to try to increase the amount of backstop for rural hospitals. Rural hospitals get creamed in this bill, beyond the fact that 16 million Americans lose their health care. So I'm going to watch that. There is also a tussle over the clean energy credits. Many of the Republican senators have seen that these credits are disproportionately being used in their states to build, battery factories, solar farms, wind farms, and they are getting, those states who voted for Trump are getting creamed by cutting back on those credits. So that clean energy amendment may be a key one as well.
But is there anything you've heard in conversations? Is there anything, knowing them, that would lead you to believe that a Johnson or a Scott or a Lee might be seriously considering voting no in the final round?
The Senate conservatives on the end, except for Rand Paul, they always collapse. The moderates have had a few times where they've stood up. I got to tell you, Chris, this has been some of the most heartbreaking time for me in this job because, I'm part of every bipartisan group. I know there are many of these Republican senators that know this bill is a pig. No matter how much lipstick you put on it, it's going to come back to haunt them. But their fear of Trump's retribution. Look at Thom Tillis. He finally stood up and he immediately got threatened, and he's decided not to run for re-election. But at some point, the damage is going to be done, I think, is more important than any of us keeping these jobs.
So I've been trying to get to the heart of this question about Republicans. If you genuinely think that this is not a bill that your constituents want, if you genuinely think either that what it does to how much money this country goes into debt is unacceptable, or you believe people may even die as a result of it, Trump's retribution is very straightforward, I understand, but do they think that they have a better chance of keeping their job, even though their constituents don't want them to vote for this?
Yeah, Chris, that'll be the question if this gets through, that the 26 elections will be won on. Now, they will make the number, oh my gosh, if they were right, if the Republicans are right, and there are literally millions of able-bodied 26-year-olds sitting in their basement playing video games rather than working, that's a discussion to have. But states like Arkansas, Georgia, New Hampshire, who have tried to put these so-called work requirements in, have ended up seeing it costs more in terms of the bureaucracy, and there just doesn't exist this, large group of people who are cheating the system. And at the end of the day, the thing that I hope people remember is that this, in a sense, if you think of a step back from a macro position, Obamacare wasn't perfect, but this would take us back to the pre-Obamacare days in terms of the number of Americans who are uninsured. Those people are still going to get sick. They're going to show up at the emergency room with uncompensated care. The hospitals that are going to get screwed the most are rural hospitals, disproportionately where Trump won. That is not good for those communities. It's already, we've seen like OBGYN services in many rural hospitals be dramatically cut back. This will accelerate that to the point that rural hospitals, I think there were an estimate of about 300 that would close.
So let me play for you the other side. So your Republican colleague, Eric Schmidt, talked about it this morning, and he says it's you guys who are misreading this situation. Take a listen.
I think the Democrats are going to try to score some cheap political points. But the truth is, their rhetoric's really tired. They got smoked in November with the same stuff, and they lost. And elections have consequences. And so today, we're going to go in there, and we're actually going to deliver for the American people so that they actually have tax relief. We're actually going to make sure we secure our border with more ICE agents, more detention beds, and we're going to make sure we've got a golden dome to defend this country. So Democrats oppose all that. That's not popular.
Safety and security is their message, along with waste, fraud, and abuse. What's your response to that?
Well, listen, I think we have seen dramatic cutbacks at the border. This actually started under Biden. And having a more secure border, I think we all want. But we've heard this waste, fraud, and abuse rant for years. At the end of the day, listen, there are always some fraud that we can do better on. But look at the waste, fraud, and abuse efforts so far under this president, the DOGE efforts. And I will make a bet with anyone that for at least the period that Elon Musk was in charge of DOGE, that effort will end up costing the taxpayer money, not saving it. And if they really wanted to enter into a negotiation about how do you actually improve performance in a number of these programs, we'd have at it. But this was about preserving the Trump tax cuts. The data is plenty in there. It disproportionately goes to the very folks at the top. Matter of fact, if you were on minimum wage in this country, you're going to see your costs go up about 53%. So this is not about ending up getting tax relief to the vast majority of Americans. It disproportionately hits folks at the top. And the other reason why Trump got hired, I think, was people wanted prices to come down. Nothing this president has done. This hasn't done with the bill so much, but nothing this president has done so far has brought prices down. If anything, it's going up with these crazy tariffs.
Senator Mark Warner, it is good to have you on the show. Thank you very much, sir. Appreciate it.